I'll put it on you, Paul.
Usman Nurmagomedov just defeated Paul Hughes by a unanimous decision in their rematch to remain the lightweight world champion. Well, he was announced as the new PFL lightweight champion because he actually defended his Bellator lightweight title in the two men's first fight earlier this year. But I guess he's the PFL lightweight champ and not the Bellator champ now that the merger is in full effect after the PFL purchased Bellator nearly 2 years ago. This time around, Usman Nurmagomedov won a unanimous decision, winning 48-47 on one card, 49-46 on one card, and 50-45 on the other. So that card is a full shutout. The official cards would suggest a much more dominant performance from Usman Nurmagomedov than the one that he had in the first fight. Usman won a majority decision over Hughes back in January. He won 48-46 on two cards, and the other card was a 47-47 draw. Usman was deducted a point for repeated groin strikes in that first fight. Officially, it is only the deduction that tightened up the score in fight 1. So bar the 150-45, this rematch wasn't scored much wider for Usman than the first fight round for round. But either way, even 150-45 card is indicative of a clear and decisive win. Me personally, I just scored this rematch 48-47 for Usman watching live. As you can see here, I gave Usman rounds 1, 4 and 5, and I gave Hughesy rounds 2 and 3. I do think that Usman won this rematch fair and square, but I think that 50-45 is quite harsh on Hughes. The fight was very competitive until the end. But I'ma be real, aside from the scorecards, aside from the repeated groin kick from Usman making an appearance again in the rematch, my main take here is that Paul Hughes kinda fumbled this rematch, man. Usman was getting the better of the action early in round 1 with the kicks just like in the first fight, kicks to the body and leg, but it was only a couple minutes in when Usman would land on Hughes' bollocks to create the first timeout of this rematch. Hughes complained about another low blow not long after the action resumed, but referee Keith Peterson told the boys to fight on. And Usman would land a takedown and take Hughes' back with just over a minute and a half to go in the round. Usman kept the body triangle on and kept the back, and he was hunting for a choke which had the Dubai crowd well excited. But Hughes did manage to find a way back to his feet late in the round when Usman tried to commit to a rear naked. Hughesy then timed Usman with a nice knee when Usman went for another takedown, then the two men traded punches. Hughes' punches looked stronger than the one punch that Usman threw, but Hughes backed out of the exchange, then tried to high-five Usman when there was just a few seconds left in the round, but Usman just threw a kick at him, and rightly so. The action is still going. Then Hughes went to say something to Usman when the round finished, and Usman pressed his head against Hughes', then Hughes started acting like he got fully headbutted by Usman, which was strange behaviour. I'd say backing out of that exchange that he was getting the better of at the end of the first round when trying to do this weird respect thing afterwards was the first sign of a lack of killer instinct from Hughes in this fight, but wait until round 3, it gets way worse. Also, I'm glad that Hughes survived that first round submission threat. I literally know nothing all about grappling, so I can't say that I know how close Usman was to getting the choke. But what I do know is that these daggies move different in rematches, man. Much like Usman Nurmagomedov came in as a massive favourite and went to a close decision that could have gone either way in that first fight with Hughes, Usman's teammate Islam Makhachev went through the same thing in his first title defence against Volkanovski. But in the rematch when the odds got tighter because of how competitive the first fight was, Makhachev just brained Volk with a head kick in the first round. So I thought that Usman Nurmagomedov was going to do the same as his teammate here, get the first round stoppage to win the duology as decisively as possible. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. Hughes survived. Round 2 was a close one, tit for tat on the feet, both men having a bit of success. Usman got another takedown and got some control time, but when it went back to a striking battle in the final minute of the round, I reckon Hughesy landed enough significant shots to edge the round by a cunt here. Round 3 was a nice competitive round, Hughes throwing some good strikes and showing good takedown defence, but Usman was getting to work nicely with the jab. But now, over 3.5 minutes into the round, there was a moment that pained me because I personally felt like Hughesy fumbled a potential finishing sequence or certainly a potential chance to do a good bit of damage on Usman. So as Usman committed to throwing a jab, Hughes landed a nasty leg kick on Usman's lead leg that rocked Usman's whole body. Look, upon rewatching the fight for the second time to write up this video, it doesn't look as crazy as what I remember seeing maybe an hour and a half prior. And do excuse me, I am a rotten casual, so I might be coming across rather hyperbolic, but watching it live, sat there alone on a Friday night with a cup of tea, I was just losing my mind that Hughes didn't follow up with another leg kick. I didn't even start skitzing out and shouting at my TV. It was actually making me feel lightheaded watching it. Hughes exclusively followed that leg kick up with punches, and I could tell that Usman's leg was hurt because he switched stance so many times after taking the kick. Fair play to Usman for disguising it fairly well, I guess, for switching stances quite seamlessly and occupying Hughes with throwing punches of his own. And again, it's easy for me to say that Hughes ought to have followed up with more leg kicks when I'm sat on my couch with my dick in my hand drinking a cup of cha. And Usman might not have been as hurt as I thought, but I couldn't help but be pained by the fact that Hughes didn't follow up with another leg kick. And after like a minute of switching stances, Usman Nurmagomedov ended the round with a successful takedown. Usman just got the better work done all round in the third round, but despite me being chagrined with Hughes not following up from hurting Usman with that leg kick, I think that moment was enough to give Hughes the round because he did have him hurt. Look, I might be digging myself a hole here. One of you MMA experts is just going to have to let me know if Hughes just caught Usman off balance there or if he really did hurt him. In round 4, an Usman kick landed to the nether regions of Hughes again, so there was another timeout. So it was the same issue that we saw in the first fight, except we didn't see a point deduction here in the rematch. Anyway, Usman's success with the grappling in the 4th round was enough to give him the round for me, and he did have good moments on the feet too. Good straight punches. So I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round, but all 3 official judges had Hughes down going into the 5th. 2 of them had it 4-0 to Usman going into the 5th, and the other one had it 3-1. And then the 5th round was a very close round. Hughes literally dropped Usman with a jab, and then instead of following up, he just pointed at him. It's painful to watch. It's painful to watch, man. I get it looks cool to point at someone when you catch them with a good shot, but you've got to have the killer instincts just to follow up with it, surely. I get being patient and all that, but when you're rooting for someone to win and they're definitely not winning the fight clearly and they're not likely to get a fair shake on the cards anyway, seeing your guy let their opponent off the hook in any slight way is just upsetting. And yeah, both men would land good strikes throughout the round. There was another messy moment when a big head clash caused a cut above Usman's eye. I'm not going to lie, that was pretty much Hughes' fault, but that still doesn't make up for Usman's 3 kicks to the balls. And I think Usman had a better end to the round, and his takedown and brief bit of control time made me personally edge this round to him. A round that was razor close on the feet, but you can most certainly give this round to Paul Hughes. I mean, 2 of the 3 official judges did. Maybe those official judges were just tightening things up because they already had Usman winning the whole fight going into that round. So yeah, as you can see here, Hughes got the 5th round on 2 cards, the 2nd round on 1 card, and everything else went to Usman Nurmagomedov. So yeah, the 50-45 was harsh in my opinion. There is arguably a case for 48-47 for Hughes. I guess 49-46 for Usman isn't terrible because Hughes didn't win any round clearly, but to not give him one of rounds 2, 3 or 5 is rough. The fight was definitely close. I love how Usman said on the mic afterwards, "What, do you guys think this fight was close as well?" Obviously in reference to the first fight being close. And interviewer Jimmy Smith responded to him like, "Well, I had it 48-47. As if to say, yes, the fight was close again. You did not win this rematch more decisively. Jimmy Smith is a real one for that. I do like that guy. He's a great host on Boxing Scene. But what Usman did say that I kind of agreed with was that in the first fight he underestimated Hughes, but this time Hughes underestimated him. I wouldn't say that Hughes underestimated Usman this time, but Hughes could have done a bit more in this rematch, I'd say. He could have come with more killer instincts. And Hughes of course would have trained very hard for this fight, and Usman is a great fighter and this was arguably a better version of him in this rematch for various reasons, but I sense this level of comfortability from Hughes here in the rematch, resting on his morals a bit from fight 1, dare I say. Look, this was a good fight, man. Nurmagomedov versus Hughes will go down as a classic duology in MMA. I don't watch PFL. This is my first time tuning into PFL since the 2 men's first fight with each other back in January, but it was worth tuning in for both times. 2 high-level competitive title fights. I'm sure other people who are rooting for Paul Hughes here will cope a bit about the scorecards and the fact that Usman should have been deducted a point again for going low. But I'm going to be the one to say, look, Hughes probably could have done more here, from my casual perspective at least. Yes, you could give the fight 3 rounds to 2 in favour of Hughes, and yes, Usman should have been deducted a point again. A point deduction for Usman would have made it a majority decision win for Usman again, by the way. But I did just want to see Hughes try to take Nurmagomedov's head off a bit more. Before I go, I must mention that the zone is fucking terrible. Watched this fight on my pal's zone account and the video quality was so bad. It was like 480p I reckon. Did anyone else experience that? Also, I hate the rewind and fast forward mechanics when using the zone on the TV. I watched a repeat of this fight straight after watching it live in order to make this video, and it's so nauseating to rewind or go forward. You either only move it 10 seconds at a time, or you hold the skip button down and it starts skipping like 40 minutes ahead. Plus sometimes I'd rewind like 20 seconds and it would just glitch out and go back to the start of the broadcast, and then I'd have to skip all the way forward again. DAZN is an absolutely shit app and I would not suggest anyone to buy a DAZN subscription. It makes me sick. Anyway, for those watching this video before Saturday night, please check out my preview of Mike Perry vs Jeremy Stephens if you haven't already. Leave your thoughts about Usman Nurmagomedov vs Paul Hughes 2 in the comments, and you have been listening to O.M.E. Boxing.